Buddha wanted us to guard our minds. He wanted us to guard our thoughts, our ears, our eyes. And it requires a lot of self-restraint. As much as we want to fire back the way that we do, a lot of things has to go through our mind before we respond. And every time when we respond, we need to respond in a manner consistent with how the Buddha would respond. That's one way to look at it, one of the best way to bring it back in, which is if the Buddha was here right now and he watched me respond this way, would he nod his head or would he frown? What kind of a karma am I going to create talking to this fool? You know, and of course, you guys have to realize who is a fool and who is the wise, and always respond consistent with the wise, using your intelligence and wisdom. And who is the wise, and always respond consistent with the wise, using your intelligence and wisdom, and not to feed on to something that is irrelevant and that doesn't really make sense, and it's not beneficial and it's not necessary, right? And the timing of this is not appropriate right now. So hopefully we have this new makeover and everyone is stuff like this kind of like wakes everybody up and they're like, wow, holy cow, like a tornado went through the Discord. And then we clean it up and then we rebuild it, and then we realize that things are now a little bit more orderly, and every opportunity in chaos gives us a chance to learn from it and realize that it's just so much in the world, it's in chaos right now, and how well we compose ourselves and respond wisely defines who we are, defines what kind of a Buddhist we really actually are, and how noble we are and how humble we are, simply put. All right, so enough of that. I would assume that we have a new person on here. He's joining us. He just likes to sit and observe, and just observing how we do things. Nat, I'm just gonna go by what is put here. So I assume that everyone has done your homework in regards to right action and right livelihood. So who would like to give me their take on their findings, what it them, how they practice, what kind of impressions that you had on what the Buddha said about right action and right livelihood? Make sure you unmute too.
Mind you, on your behalf, I was sending it to you earlier this week.
I'm sorry, what? Can you say that again? I have like one mic. I have one on my laptop. There's two speakers and only one is working. I don't know. I don't know why. Can you say that again? Can someone repeat what she said?
I have no idea what you said, Sherry. Can you repeat yourself?
I was sending it already.
Sending
what?
Something. Okay. Next person who would like to speak about right action, right livelihood.
Yeah, I can.
Yes, go ahead.
Am I echoing? Okay.
You're good.
So right action to me is not a commandment, but it's like a livelihood. And it means to act rightly and avoid selfish attachments in a hateful discord. So example, like not lying to anyone or avoiding intoxications, like we talked about last week. And when I researched this, I was a Vietnamese teacher who explained it well. He said the basis of right action is to do everything in mindfulness. And I really like that quote. So that's right action to me. And right livelihood is the fifth path of life, which it talks about the moral conduct that living does not, while you should live, you shouldn't harm others. I think that's simple. That's not like, so that's what I learned so far. Just to simplify everything.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyone else would like to share based on their findings of these two noble paths?
Yeah, I think similar to Jerry there, all about the intent that you have. Like a baby could be following all the correct things, but not actually living with right action, right livelihood, because the intent is there, being mindful about what you're doing, and avoiding uh, those things that don't live in a way that is in right action or right livelihood.
Hmm. Anyone can give examples of daily life where people are engaged in right livelihood and right action?
If you see something, you should tell the truth about it and don't lie about it. Be honest.
Hmm. Hmm. Anyone else? Let me try to pull up this secret text.
I mean, just not you're saying things that are going to intentionally harm other people, not cheating, the kind of contact things. Yeah, just doing things that aren't going to cause harm to others.
Hmm. I see. Dependent mindfulness. Okay. All right. Val, how much energy do you have, Miss Valerie? She's probably burning up in that house. How much energy do you have?
Um, I'm like almost at E, but I'm still there.
All right. You'd like to read right action for us in the sacred text?
Yes,
Yes.
just 1 second.
I'm gonna grab my bottle of water here real quick. So
All right,
go,
about that. My aunt called.
go ahead.
All right, so right. Let's see here. What now is right action? It is abstaining from killing, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from unlawful sexual intercourse, where someone avoids killing of living beings and abstaining from it without stick or word. Conscientious, full of sympathy, he is anxious for the welfare of all living beings. He avoids stealing and what another person possesses of goods and chattels in the village or in the wood that he does not take away with thievish intent. He avoids unlawful sexual intercourse and abstains from it. He has no intercourse with persons as are still under the protection of father, mother, brother, sister, or relatives, nor with married women, nor female convicts, nor, lastly, with betrothed girls. This is called right action. Now, right action, let me tell you, is of two kinds: abstaining from killing, from stealing, and from unlawful sexual intercourse. This is called the mundane right action, which yields worldly fruits and brings good results. But the abhorrence of the practice of this threefold wrong action, the abstaining, withholding, refraining, their life being holy, being turned away from the world and conjoined with the path, the holy path being pursued, This is called the ultra mundane right action, which is not of the world, but is ultra mundane and conjoined with it. Now, in understanding wrong action as right and right action as right, one practices right understanding, first step, and in making efforts to overcome wrong action and to arouse right action, one practices right effort, the sixth step, and in overcoming wrong action with attentive mind and dwelling with attentive mind and possession of action, one practices right attentiveness, the seventh step of the Eightfold Path. Hence, there are three things that accompany and follow upon right action, namely, right planning, effort, and right attentiveness.
Hmm. So, hmm. So, well, before I go into right action real quick, because you see the first sentence there talks about the five precept, right? And then that earlier this week, someone said, "Well, I don't understand, and I don't really agree with the eighth precept where it talks about engaging in entertainment and music and dancing." So I wanted to, number one, talk about that. So the precepts, as you all are aware, is that it is the gift of safety. And first and foremost, create an environment of safety so that everyone can cohabitate peacefully. Typically in temples, you can leave your iPhones, jewelry, purses everywhere, and you don't have to worry about people stealing, just because the Buddha gave the elements of stealing, which is don't take what is not given to you. If something is not given to you, don't take it. Okay, not this finders keepers game. Bad karma. All who are truly Buddhist internalize deeply the the five basic precept, which is abstain from killing, stealing, sexual activity, telling lies, abstaining from intoxicating drinks, drugs, abstaining from eating after 12, abstaining from entertainment and beautifying the body, abstaining from luxurious furniture. So let's look at each one real quick, right? Abstain from killing. That means all the way down to any insects, anything that breathes, okay? All living beings. Stealing, everyone gets that. Abstaining from sexual misconduct, meaning, raping someone, and not non-consensual sex. And there's elements under sexual misconduct, like if someone is still under the jurisdiction of their parents, that needs to, you need to obtain consent for that. Some of these elements are actually rooted in the old days of the Buddha, like 2,565 years ago, where children and even people were still under the jurisdiction of their parents, so on and so on. Of course, if they're married, don't touch it, just because nothing good happens there when someone is married and you jump in and interfere. And then of course when the opposite spouse finds out, of course we all have seen plenty of uh, cases like that on the news where people run after each other and kill each other out of jealousy, extreme level of jealousy. Abstaining from telling lies, harmful speech, we covered that last week. Okay, words spread like wildfires. um, Abstaining from intoxicating drinks and drugs. Your mind's already delusional, it's already tripping. You don't need to add more intoxicants to compound the fact that your mind is tripping. um, it's not conducive to our practice of mindfulness, trying to be aware of everything that we're doing for the betterment and quality of our life. Abstain from eating after noon. Well, this one is also a little bit not practical, because the Buddha really didn't want people to eat all day every day and to be lazy. You have to understand that he was a prince and that food was plentiful for him. And the days of the Buddha, the King Sudotana wanted him to have a really cushy life, didn't want him to see suffering. So that's all they did most of the time, was party and with fine women and dancing and drinking and eating food, and you name it. you know Kind of like penthouse. So after he
Hey,
achieved his.
Venerable.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have a student who, Jules, I don't know if you remember her.
Yes.
She can't get into the Discord. She can only see like the announcements tab, but it says that she doesn't have permission to send messages. Have any of you others run into that today?
I had to Discord and join back, and everything came back up.
Okay, so you have to rejoin.
Yeah, that was my solution.
Okay, did you uninstall and then download the application again?
Oh no, I just left Fredo's Discord, and then I found a link to join his Discord again, and then it was back to normal.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So we all have to understand his intent, the Buddha's intent for all of these to be set into motion and put in place, is to keep us from, getting obese, getting lazy, not wanting to do things. But I understand, of course, modern day, when you look at the number 6 precept, abstaining from eating after 12, after noon, is impossible, because if you have kids, family, you have 2-3 jobs, you're going to die. Or at least you're going to feel like you're dying not eating. But this is where we also see the practice of mindfulness eating, right? And all of us indulge in food. No one teaches us this stuff except the Buddha, when it comes to how we should moderate how much we eat, the intake. So when you see this from a practicality standpoint, you realize that, oh, okay, well, the Buddha doesn't want me to get lazy and stuff myself so much that I can't really do anything. Because see, the Buddha knew, he had insight that was one of the enemies that humans have, is comfort. We just look at our own practice. We just look at our own selves, and we realize once we hit that bed or couch, oh, it's real comfortable. Or the job that we have, we get real comfortable, and people are resistant to change, and they don't want to deviate from what they're used to. I am used to this job. I am used to these people. I am used to being at home, or so on and so on. And we can see that we're only stagnant and stuck wherever we are, when we are so complacent, and we're just there. So you got to be active. You want to be active as much as you possibly can, and to see the intent of the Buddha, and that he does not want people lying around and wasting precious time. That's the problem with eating too much, sleeping too much. Okay, it's the extreme part of the laziness part on the spectrum and scale of the middle way. This is why every time when I explain the middle way, I hold up both of my hands, and on one end of the hand, I said, this is the extreme part of of things, and then this is way too lazy, unacceptably lazy. And we need to find the middle way, right in the middle of it, so that we have a good, well balanced life, and that it's not too much working, it's not too much sleeping, it's not too much dwelling on something, and so on and so on. So you have to be quite creative when it comes to the five precept. Now, what makes us different from other religion or philosophy um, that really makes people feel guilty is, for example, it has been commonly reported that the Ten Commandments um, is really strict, and it makes people um, feel guilty because the Buddha said, I'm sorry, the Lord Jesus said, "Thou shalt not." Ooh, excuse me. Give me 1 second, folks. I got some. All right, I guess that other account's not gonna work. um, when thou shalt not this, thou shalt not do that, thou shalt not this. There's a lot of philosophies and um, rules in other traditions and uh, religion that makes a person feel really guilty that they do what it is that they do, including masturbation, right? And so it's impractical of a human to not, would you rather someone rape someone or masturbate? That's an example. Um, Ethical example, moral example. And so we're always having philosophical discussions on these. I mean, all holy people have discussions on this and just pondering what is going on here. How does one restrain oneself? And sometimes it does leads to quite extreme measures to try to follow the rules in the book straight across. Um, so again, in Buddhism, the precept are refraining, meaning lessening and mitigating. If we're doing it, we try to cut back and try to find the middle way. So when I was with these students that came down to see me, um, they told me, yeah, we do drink and so and so. And so I took out my phone and I did a video and I said, look, you all can smoke, you all can have sex, you all can drink, you all can do all these things. Why? And I gave my reason, which is number one, the more we keep you from doing it, you're going to do it anyways. Number two, people do what they're going to do anyways. And number three, well, the goal here is to try to cut back. And if we're drinking, well, don't drink so much to the point where you have no idea what planet you're on. Simply put, we've all been there, right? We've all partied to the point where someone had to carry us home. We have no idea which planet Earth, Mars, Moon, moonshine that we're at, and then waking up, I don't remember anything. That's pretty bad. Um, so, and when it comes to sex, of course, we're humans. Basic physical human drive and need is that they're gonna do what they. The more you tell them not to do something, they're going to do it. And so, if we are addicted to sex, addicted to pornography, for example, we need to look at the details of that and see if we want to cut back, and see how it's affecting work-life balance, home, so on and so on. Now, all these issues that I am telling you all today have been in so many articles how it affects people's lives, and how it affects people's relationships. Again, I would concur with scientific studies that if it start to affect the quality of your life, then maybe it's time to really reconsider, how we're operating on a day-to-day basis. And of course, when we move down to entertainment and beautifying the body, is again, the Buddha wanted us not to be too attached to our bodies. And of course, we all know women needs makeup and women needs perfume and all of these things, which is fine. But we also know the extreme portion and part of this. And when it comes to the entertainment, again, sitting all day, every day on Netflix, Zulu, Hulu, all of these entertainment apps and subscriptions, the amount of subscription is wow. You can get yourself in a lot of trouble subscribing to so many right now that by the end of the year you are broke and you have fed these companies thousands of dollars that you don't even use. You don't even have time to use all of them. So hopefully after today everyone look at their subscription status and realize, oh, well, maybe I should rethink about, what's going on here, um, with the attachment to entertainment, right? And of course, just look back and just be really honest to yourself. If you're suffering right now, people distract themselves buying through entertainment so that they run away from their pain, deep core rooted issues. And a courageous student, a courageous warrior on this path would go head straight on with anything that is troubling them, trying to find the root cause of the problem right away. So um, again, it just, you can think outside the box when it comes to these precepts. You need not to confine directly with every single word that's being said. And this is our job as monastics, is to break this down so that you guys understand and not feel guilty, because a lot of people feel guilty um, reading this stuff and realize, oh my goodness, out of like 6 of these, I've already violated 3 on a daily basis. Maybe Buddhism is not for me. you know so one has to investigate it thoroughly before jumping to conclusions. And when it comes to abstaining from luxurious furniture, again, it has to do with comfort, right? Sleep number beds, Tempur-Pedics, yeah, a date with the bed, yeah, that right there. And then material possessions also, one who just accumulates more and more and more material possessions. One of the things that you can do to fix laziness is to sleep on the floor. Sleep on the floor. And when you wake up in the morning, you realize, wow, I really need to get up because it's really uncomfortable at 6 in the morning with this flat, surface that I'm on. So you increase your productivity as a human and not accumulating too much stuff. Again, when on people's deathbeds, they look back and they don't say, yeah, I wish I had more TVs. I wish I had more cars. I wish I had more, Tempur-Pedic beds and more iPhones and more diamonds and more gold. When we look at the commonalities that people say on their deathbeds is that I wish I spent more time with my family. I worked less, and all of these things that matter truly to one person's life rather than material gains. I wish I traveled more. Take your money and buy experiences instead of things. And they did this research where it says, after a person buys a car, their happiness level lasts about 4 days. So just when you think a Rolls Royce or something that's really, really, really going to make you happy, yeah, you might want to think again, because once you're in it and you start it and you drive it and you're like, oh, that's what it's like. Well, I want a better one now. We have any questions so far on the review of the precepts as it relates to the first paragraph of the text that we're reading? No questions on the precept? Okay.
Hey, Vanderbilt.
Yes.
You actually kind of remind me of my dad about the whole car reference. Because my dad actually buys cars a lot. Like, he'll be like, oh yeah, I like this car. Then after a couple months, he's like, oh, I hate this car. I wish I had my old car.
Yeah, it happens.
Are these precepts for beginners, or is this more of the monastic level?
No, this is for everyone. This is for everyone.
Okay.
So the 5 basic precept is, is a good to follow. And those who are hardcore would go to the extent of the 8 precept, of which I have, went over all of this. Okay, but again, this doesn't define whether or not you are Buddhist or not Buddhist. You just got to think on the grand and bigger picture here, is that what kind of life do you want to live? These are very universal. Everyone who is not Buddhist can agree that these are basic principles that a person should follow to live a noble life, to live the humble life, to live the good life as a good person. I mean, who wants to be remembered as a murderer? Who wants to be remembered as a person who, was a menace in society and never changed, stole from the beginning, stole in the middle, and stole towards the end? One who killed in the beginning, one who killed in the middle, and one killed towards the end. One who told lies in the beginning, one who told lies in the middle. On their deathbed, they still, still telling lies. So these are very basic. Again, if you are a good person with good intentions, which is what right action is the intent. In criminal law is mens rea, which is, willfully, knowingly, and intentionally engaging in something, conscious about it, made aware of it, and you willfully entered into this type of activity, enter into this type of thought, and that you acted on it, right? So when we see, the Buddhist teachings on morality and ethics, it's very similar to modern day criminal law and modern day legislative intent, right? So it just takes some reflections and some meditation on this. And if you all have kids, planning to have kids, having kids now, it's really good to teach this to your kids. You don't need to be Buddhist. You don't need to be Buddhist, Catholic, Hindu to understand that these are some of the basic principles that will guide you through life with more roses and less thorns. Because if you want a life filled with thorns and less roses, go ahead, go cheat, lie, kill, and steal. You'll find out real quick. And even if you think that no one is watching, karma's watching, and karma never forgets an address. So even if so many people has been killed. Of course, murder happens around the world and frequently, very frequently, actually. It's rooted in human behavior, of human aggression and violence. Is that, if someone challenged us, and challenged our ego, we just kill them. Millions of years ago, we just throw a spear at them. Spear go through and through. We would really, tear them apart. That's why we see so much aggression and violence. So on the subject of murder is that, in my country, particularly my country, murder is that, in my country, particularly my country, we don't have cameras all everywhere like the US. People kill and then they know they kill and then they run away and then the police can never find them. But yet somewhere down the road, a couple years down the road, a couple months down the road, they always turn themselves in because they know that they did wrong and that they're regretful and they're like, I can't live with this. I have to do the right thing to turn myself in. I cannot run away from myself. I cannot run from the heinous crimes that I have committed. I cannot do this anymore. There was a guy that was murdered right in front of my dad's office, and he shot this guy. There was an argument in a bar. Guy gets out, grabs a gun, walks towards the bar, shoots the guy. Guy dies. Everyone was a witness, but they hush. They don't want to say anything because there was a lot of everybody in the community, so they don't want to snitch. So the guy made it out of the country actually, but then came back to California. Went to Cali, went to Vietnam, came back to Cali to turn himself in, and is now doing 25 years. And one would ask, well, why would you come? Why would you do that? You're free. It's probably not extraditable, and no one would even know. And just why? But you see, it eats him up. It eats him up inside. And so many. If you ever study homicides, again, growing up, I was always fascinated with criminology and forensics, right? And so I would just, in true crime shows, that's why we have like real TV or true TV, whatever that show is. You have CSI Miami and all this stuff. I mean, because people are always fascinated as to why people kill and steal. And you know, you see that it eats them up. They can't live. Even if you all stole right now and no one's watching, you would feel like, wait a minute, this it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And what is the total opposite of this? The total opposite of this is that um, we give more and we take less. Give more and take less. Um, and that when no one is watching and no one knows your good deeds, you know what you did, right? So I lead by example in my life. And I have told the world so many times, anyone who can find that I was this um, person that was, you know, who took more and gave less, you know, the total opposite of what I just said, that I was this greedy guy running around Pinellas County, then I would disrobe immediately, because then it's indicative that I was just this person that just took. That's all I did was took. But see, that's not the case. My whole life, I gave more and took less with all the friends that I had in my life. And when I had my own company selling uh, products, my employees made products. My employees made 1/3 of what the company made. Imagine that. When have you ever seen that? 1/3 of what the company makes goes to employees. So anyone that can find anyone in Florida that says, "Yeah, we worked for him, and he treated us like slave, and the world is a better place without him." I would be more than happy to go back to the lay life all day, every day, and live somewhere in a hermit and hide my face from the world. Um, and so when you give more in life, you can access that memory anytime, even on your deathbed, and realize that when you had the capability and the opportunity in your life, with the little money that you had, with the little resources that you had, and when you had nothing to give at all, you gave your body, speech, and mind for the benefit of others that you didn't even know. That you had the greater intent. You had the benefits of others in mind. And how joyful is that, even if you were to die? And you know, when it comes to heaven and hell, um, when it comes to nirvana and karma, and like, who cares? Who cares if it exists or doesn't exist? You've lived a good life, and now you will die happy. That's it. So for me, right, of course I'm a monk, so of course I believe in enlightenment, of course I believe in heaven, and I believe the six realms of rebirth, and I believe in rebirth as a whole and in totality. But I don't attach to it. I don't quite frankly, I don't really care. If I die right now at the moment of this video, if I have a heart attack right now, I would die happy, confidently said. Just because as a monk, I gave more, I took less. As a human, before becoming a monk, I gave more, and took less. I gave everything. I also lost everything, and I'm okay with that. I've lost everything 3 times in my life. I was homeless. I lived with my friends. I lived in a room you would never imagine that was an actual room. And you're like, oh my God. If you looked at this room, you would be like, wow, holy cow. We would not blame you had you take your life. But I was grateful. I was grateful that I even had a room or a roof over my head. Everything that happened to me in my life made me who I am today. And so, you know, like again, who cares? We have one life to live. How conscious we are right now, how aware we are right now with our ethics and morality, you know, really give rise to the quality of life that you live on a daily basis. So if you have given before and you rejoiced in that fact that you gave to charity, you gave to. So if you have given before And you rejoiced in that fact that you gave to charity, you gave to the St. Jude Cancer Institute, or so helped your neighbors, helped this one person. Everyone has a story of how they helped. And then you see that how fast you can access that memory over and over again. It's eternal. As long as you're alive and you can think and you can access these memories, it's like, wow. And if you've never given before, well, I invite you to try it. Go out and volunteer. Do something good and come back home and see if you sleep well. See if you sleep well. See if, you know, you're happier. You're less attached to yourself, less attached to material, worldly things. It's an experiment. This is what the Buddha wanted you to do. He doesn't say, listen, everything I say is right and you got to follow me. No, it's our job to prove him wrong. If the Buddha says generosity is good for you, well, try it out. But once again, when you have nothing else to give your body, speech, and mind. What does that mean? That means I think good thoughts about people, that I see good in people. I give people the benefit of the doubts. Speech. I use my words to comfort others. I use my words to understand people. I use my words not to judge. I use my words wisely, right? And body, which is action, which is what we're studying here today, is that when you have nothing to give and you have energy, you ate a big chicken, chicken gave you X amount of calories, and now you want to, go forth and use the energy that you have to serve other people, homeless people, serve your church, community, school, temple, monastery, and you realize that, yeah, I, 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 I did the best I could today. It's nothing more I could have done. I have nothing to give. I gave all of my energy today to people. Huh? I had a student that says, well, Venerable, what about microbes on your skin when you take shower? They die off. Isn't that bad karma? Isn't that killing? And I said, yeah, whether microbes or parasites or germs that exist on our body, and at the moment of washing our body in the shower every day. But yeah, but you see, the pool of karma is like this. Imagine you have a lake, and that lake is your karmic bank. The lake is fresh water, not salty. And let's say once a year you take something that is not given to you, right? And it's like you taking a spoon of salt and you putting it into the lake. There's no way it's going to make that lake salty based on one scoop of spoon, right? Now if you steal every single day, every waking moment of the day, all you're thinking about is I'm going to go steal gas because gas is expensive right now. Gas, food, whatever, cigarettes, e-cigs, vapes, whatever, marijuana, cocaine. But yeah, so you're just shoveling. Now we're shoveling salt into our lake, polluting our lake. That now we're really trying to make it salty. And so in comparison with taking the shower is that, yeah, so these microbes die. Well, they're subject to die anyways because that's their karma. We have to wash our bodies to keep us moving efficiently. And so realizing that we are consumers of this world, that we take, consumers, right? We consume, we take. And part of operating as a human daily is that we do take lives, sometimes indirectly with these little microbes that's on our skin. But however, for the greater good, but now that you are enlightened, and what I am saying is illuminating in your mind, enlightenment meaning, a light bulb comes on, and you realize, oh wow, yeah, I drink, I eat, I poop, I sleep, washing clothes and all of the carbon footprints that comes with being a human. How much have given back to society? As much as I possibly can. Aha. And a person should feel guilty if they just do just that. Eat, poop, and sleep, and take and take and take, and give nothing back to humanity in any way, shape, and form. That's terrible, right? That would be a different kind of virus. That would be a different type of infection for our world and humanity. Um, in society. But again, we study about what's going right is that we have these people that, establish communities, establish hospitals, free clinics to serve the underprivileged, to serve the underserved, to serve for those who cannot serve at all. That's what's right about us, is that, yeah, agree that we humans have this aggression, innate aggression, primitive uh, aggression, but we humans also have the capacity to help and to jump in with American Red Cross when there is hurricanes and earthquakes, and how fast U.S. Coast Guard go and save and recover bodies or saving people from wreckage. Every time when you guys go out and you guys see red and blue lights and fire trucks, you realize that these people are running towards fires. They are not running away. How courageous these heroes are. When these nurses work so hard to keep COVID patients alive and these doctors are burnt out to no end, we realize this is the fabric, the moral fabric, the moral thread in our society, that is so wonderful and so beautiful. It's just what makes me smile every day. Um, you know, and even police officers, right? Everyone judges them. Nobody likes the police until you need them. And you guys just analyze, uh, you know, some of these videos online, and you realize, oh my goodness, if police officers do not exist, and if they don't do their job courageously, we would have grenade launchers flying in the back of our monasteries, on the back of our houses while we're trying to meditate, right? Um, and so, yeah, that's on the subject of morality. Any questions so far? These types of talks right here for a monk can last a week.
Like, if something doesn't scream or yell, it doesn't mean it's alive. Like, for example, like vegetables, when we pluck it out of the ground or grab a fruit off the tree, like, isn't that considered killing in a way? Because, like, it's alive, isn't it?
Anything that breathes, anything that breathes. Now, of course, we have to also survive where we need proteins, right? Every day, millions of cows are being slaughtered, all sorts of food. The fact that we ingest food right there, right? We see there's some level of, oh man, a chicken died today. I ate a chicken, right? But it's okay. I'm telling you, it's okay. Again, look at your practice. Look at your intentions. Yeah, we need these things to survive. You need broccoli to survive. It helps blood clotting, right? You need tomatoes, right? We need trees and plants, herbs, medicine. We need these things to keep ourselves alive. What we do while we are alive is what matters. Is what makes us noble. Is what makes us truly worthy of veneration. Is that, yeah, I do take these things while I'm alive. It's part of being human. But look at how much I'm giving. Look at the impact I'm making in my environment, in my life, with the people that is around me. I'm doing the best I can. So, good question. Yes, sometimes a lot of things has to give in order for us to survive. We have any additional question before I continue? Question, confusion, comments?
Just on that as well. What about if there was like insect infestation, like a monastery had termites in the walls and needed to be eradicated? Could you do that?
So yeah, these are like really, really questionable topics right here. Is because we're not experts. Monks are not experts to remove these insects, and sometimes it does happen, and it happens because of our karma. However that monastery is being run, whatever is happening. Well, now they're being infested with rats and cockroaches and ants and bugs, right? So typically we try to remove them as much as we try to use the best available science we know to remove them without harming them, or we call an expert to come in to do it, and an expert, and it says, so then it becomes that guy's karma. However, he removes it and keep everything, and it says, so then it becomes that guy's karma. However, he removes it and keep all the living quarters from, just you can't live in the living quarters if rats are gonna bite at your toe every night. You can't live in a quarters when cockroaches crawl on your food. At the health risk associated with that. And unfortunately, sometimes these things do happen, and sometimes the living creatures do in fact die, or has to, or they evade and they have to take drastic maneuvers and techniques to remove them. And again, it is also the animal's karma. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But again, it is only a teaspoon or perhaps a shovel of salt into the karmic pool. So let's say if I had to do that, let's say if I had to remove some things and maybe they're going to be hurt in the process of it, well, I better do a bunch of other, they're going to be hurt in the process of it. Well, I better do a bunch of other things to overlap that karma that I have done. Right? This was the same concept that John Gottman actually explained when it came to relationships, whereas husband and wife and they're fighting. He says for one bad incident that happens during a fight, that it takes 5 good things to happen to try to make up for it. It's called the emotional bank. So you all just have to be creative here about the karmic bank, the karmic. We take, but we also give. However we give and how much we give to try to even out the deficit, to try to even out the equation. No one really knows how karma actually really works. But these are some of the teachings and realizations in karma that I can tell you are all based on my many years of observing, studying, and following people that is subject to karmic debts, karmic sentences. And again, if you spend all day, every day looking for rats and you buy yourself a BB gun and you're like, this is my mission, this is my intent, and this is my livelihood, is to get out and harm things and kill things and do things. It's rough. You just gotta see what you can do with what's going on right there. It's not easy. Likewise, there are people. Well, what happened when we talk about right livelihood? What happened for soldiers, right, in the armed forces? Armed forces exist, and there's millions of people in the armed forces in all branches of the government. And what happens there? How do you contribute good while you're there? My dad, when he was a military officer, he shot in the air during the Vietnam War. He did. I believe him. I truly do. And right now, as a military lieutenant who commanded 50 officers, he's living a very comfortable, nice life. It cannot be said if he killed. If he killed, there's no way this man can reap the what he has sowed. So again, we have to look at our part and try to mitigate pain and suffering onto any living beings, lessening. Sometimes you can't avoid it altogether, 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes, we make mistakes. Certain police officers are Buddhist, and in the heat of the moment, split-second decision, a gun goes off. Somebody's killed, and it's like, what just happened? So they would spend majority of their life trying to repair the karmic action that was happened as much as they can. But the Buddha also, when it came to punishment and what is being deserved, the Buddha says, if something is wrong, someone needs to speak up. And the Buddha says, what is deserved? Well, then it's deserved. If this fits the punishment for such crime, then it has to be carried out, simply put. So judges who put people away and judges who sentence people fall underneath that element of the teachings of the Buddha. And there's guidelines that they have to follow, sentencing guidelines that they have to follow. So again, these things are not an easy explanation. We have any follow-up questions? All right.
Honorable, I did want to share something that was super weird and kind of creepy but cool. So yesterday, you saw on my Instagram that I put a rose in Jacob, my cousin's, on top of his casket. Well, when I was doing my meditation this morning, I found a white rose that literally looked like the same rose that I put on his casket, and I got like really weirded out.
Mm.
It was like, and like, I don't want to say that's karma, but I feel like it was kind of like, hey, like, thanks for loving me, even though like I had substance abuse issues and like I was difficult at times. I don't know. It was just weird. I keep thinking about it today.
Mm. Yeah, you know, death of a loved one. Sometimes weird things do happen after a death of a loved one. Sometimes their spirit just kind of wander around and they just want to let you know, hey, I'm still here. To tell you, I appreciate it. You know, again, that's another study of spirits and rebirth realms and how they kind of linger for a good minute before they actually depart. Um, okay, so let me go back to the text.
I have a question.
Oh yes, go ahead.
Is it wrong to like eat meat and chicken and stuff like that, or should we consume like less of it?
Well, when we talk about food and vegetarianism and veganism and all this stuff, is that not everyone is the same. Everyone's bodies are complex, and the human body is difficult to understand, difficult to treat, difficult to nourish. So you have to follow based on your doctor's recommendations about which diet is most appropriate for you, and not, and not um, go to the extreme of, well, because I'm Buddhist, I have to not eat any meat and resort to vegan only. But if your body is not compatible with that, and then your body needs certain proteins and certain meats, omega-3, and potassium, for vital kidney function, vital liver functions, kidney enzymes, the CBC, CMP, TSH, lipids panels will review. You got to do what you got to do to keep yourself alive. It's the big and greater picture. You remember, we are an intelligent type species, is that we have the capacity to think. We have a lot of capacity to do a lot of things, um, for the benefit of living beings, you know. Um, Whereas other animals don't have our type of capacities. And which animal is being killed is also subject to their own karma. It's not like they were all innocent. We're not innocent. Animals are not innocent, you know. And we have an open mic. Okay. So the cow that died for your consumption, well, that cow has also killed in its previous lives. And therefore it was time that it had to be slaughtered for the consumption of humans or for any other purposes. So the workings of karma is like that. It's that our good intention is that we want to save most and all, as much as we possibly can. But again, it's a complicated thing. You can't. You got to keep yourself alive, because you got to look at the value of a human. Is that you have the chance and opportunity to be liberated, to liberate yourself once and for all, to end the cycle of samsara. And some of the top meritorious deeds that you can do is, number one, try to keep the precept as much as possible. Number two, cultivation of the heart, which is meditation. And number three, as a direct result of the previous two, wisdom, profound wisdom arises in your mind. And now you use that wisdom to teach others. These are some of the most supreme things you can do for you and your family, no matter where you're at in life.
Thank you.
You're
That makes
welcome.
a lot more sense.
Yes. Um, okay, so I want to read this. Any more questions? Questions? Okay. In the last paragraph of right action, now in understanding wrong action was wrong and right action as right, one practices right understanding, which is right view, okay? Which is back to the first noble truth. I'm sorry, first noble eightfold path. And in making effort to overcome wrong action, y'all take that to heart. And in making efforts to overcome wrong action and to arouse right action, one practices right effort. And in overcoming wrong action with attentive mind and dwelling with attentive mind, in possession of right action, one practices right attentiveness, which is right mindfulness. Hence, there are three things that accompany and follow upon right action, namely, right understanding, right effort, right mindfulness, or right attentiveness. I gotta sneeze. Whew. Okay, it came in and it left. Um, you know, after today, I'd like everyone to just forgive yourself for things that you did, may or may not have done. Either you did it directly, indirectly, either you did it voluntarily or involuntarily, either you knew what you were doing or not know what you were doing, whatever you were engaged in, right? You did it out of ignorance. You did not know any better. Therefore, you couldn't do any better. And so, therefore, um, now that you have heard the Dhamma, now that you have heard the teachings of the Buddha effectively, everyone here after today, actually, the next moment of your next intention, you can change the course of your karma. You can craft your karma. If you don't want health problems, if you don't want a rough life, time to really meditate on all of this. And if you don't know what I mean, maybe it's time to go out to nursing homes and hospitals and look at the suffering of others and do some interviews. You know, be like, hi, how have you lived your life? You know, you're going to find those who suffer physically tend to be hunters, tend to hurt other people a lot, buying through relationships, buying through manipulations, buying through lying, cheating, stealing. Trace it. I want you guys to trace it. You guys are karma detectives. So once you hear these convincing stories, you realize, oh my God, I never want to suffer like them. The way how they live, the way how they die, the way how they suffer. Oh no, cannot be me. Cannot. So, me sitting here in front of you, I'm human too. I once hurt people in relationships. I once lied to them. I once cheated on them, right? And now this is my chance to give back to the world and to learn from my lesson and to tell the world that I found a way to live better and to behave better and to never repeat my same conduct ever again. You know, I myself was not a child that behaved when growing up left to right. I raised cars. Oh my! I used to jump elementary schools back before cameras even was there, and played paintball there. And the police came to the house every day, knocking on the door. But again, out of foolishness and ignorance, and out of desire for pleasure, one engages in foolishness. And then once you have received instructions and the directions on how to behave, how to live, how to think, you make that 180-degree turn right away. Put the brakes on that karma real quick. And then you rejoice. And you rejoice. Everything you do here on forward and you go to sleep real good, benefits of others in mind. So let's see. Today, let's see here. Right living. Oh, I think there was something I wanted to read out of what the Buddha taught book here by Rahula Wapola. Right action aims at promoting moral, honorable, and peaceful conduct. It admonishes us that we should abstain from destroying life, stealing, dishonest dealings, from illegitimate sexual intercourse, and that we should also help others to lead a peaceful and honorable life in the right way. The other thing I want to give you all food for thought is that you live your life as if a lot of people are watching or a jury is watching you at all times. So in my life, with all the professions that I have had, as an interpreter in the courtroom, as a protection officer, getting to carry weapons, I had the ability to lie. I had the ability to do a lot of things. And that I can sit here and tell you all that I did not do, which is, as an interpreter, I have never, ever said one word that was wrong, that I did my job as I was trained in the Supreme Courts, Florida Supreme Courts. And during my, 13 years, 14 years as an interpreter, I have never been audited by any judge or any attorney. And the only questionable event that ever arose during a deposition was the word requirement. Because somebody requires somebody to come out of the car, and an attorney asked me, that's not requirement. And I'm like, what? I have the dictionary right here. Okay. That's it. What a blameless life as an interpreter. What a blameless life as an officer of the courts. And, when I was a protection officer and I had to make decisions when it came to dealing with people who were unruly, I had to make decisions as if one day I have to justify to a jury, is it going to make sense to 6 people or 12 people that doesn't know who I am, that will judge me based on the actions that I took? And everyone has their day in court, folks. If you live this way, you will always live a good life. Is that, people do the sketchy things that they do in life, right? The dishonesty, because they're like, well, no one's watching, so I'm going to take this money. No one's watching, so I'm going to cheat. No one's watching, so I'm going to go behind someone's back. They'll never find out. It's I've come so far in life as to the study of humans and to the study of criminology. It's that I've done a lot of jail visits, and you gather a lot of data as to who is really actually evil and who is actually really not, and who have actually changed and who have actually not and will never change. I once met these 2 murderers. It was an old guy that killed one guy, right? I think he killed his neighbor. And then I met this young man named George, and he killed like 5 people during a drug transaction. I think they stole from him and he snapped. He actually stabbed all of them, George, and he killed like 5 people during a drug transaction. I think they stole from him and he snapped. He actually stabbed all of them. Additionally, he castrated them. Well, the difference between here was astonishing as I was interviewing both of them. I just wanted to know what happened. And when I talked to George, I actually could never imagine that he carried out these murders. But at the time of interviewing him, I realized that he changed. Truly did. His eyes told me everything. His body, speech, and mind told me that, wow, holy cow, this is going to wake you up. Truly is. I don't think he's ever going to kill again. Ever. I believe that he has rehabilitated. He spent, according to his statements, he spent 5 years in solitary confinement at the Pinellas County Jail. And I said, what did you do 5 years in solitary confinement? I was like, oh my God. I have seen his arrest reports. I have seen it, and I was like, oh my God. I looked at it. I was like, I apologize for the following reactions, but oh my God, you actually did kill people. You know? And he said he read Moby Dick. He read a lot of fiction actually in there. But from a monastic standpoint, he also took somewhat of a monastic reflection, as in sitting there by himself, to himself, thinking about his actions, trying to forgive himself, trying to make sense of, holy crap, what happened? Now, when it comes to this older gentleman that killed one person, not five, I don't know. I'm not sure if George killed 5 or 6, but it was either 5 or 6. This other gentleman just shot someone, one person. Boy, I tell y'all what. And if you have never ever seen evil before, this was, I mean, this is it. If you've never met the devil before, this is as close as to a devil as it is ever going to get. Okay. And so I want, I mean, if you guys were to ask any forensic psychologists, any people in the forensic field about their experiences, what they see, how they investigate, or who, or homicide detectives, when they actually interview homicide suspects, they will tell you what evil looks like. I couldn't even describe it to you. I looked into this man's eyes, and they looked like two little black holes that was constantly spinning in darkness. It was one of the scariest things I have ever seen in my life, and will always have that impression as long as I live. And you can tell that this man will kill again. Will kill again. I don't have any doubts in my mind that this man is going to come out and take another gun and be the mass shooters. I feel it. I see it. I feel it. Again, today's discussion is not about me judging people. It's about an assessment, evaluation, and my empirical observation as someone who works in the criminal justice system. Both, it's funny, my life is, number one, I have been in the criminal justice system, being in trouble myself, and then also serving the criminal justice system, being both sides of the law. So I know what it's like to get in trouble with the law, and also I know what it's like to reform as a person. And I really have compassion for these people, because what led them to kill, the ultimate sin, you can say, the ultimate unwholesome act, akusala, the ultimate unskillful action a human can take, is that, well, they too were ignorant of the Four Noble Truths, of what we're all studying here. So, I make it part of my life's mission to apply Buddhism in prison systems and jails and prisons. These are people who they're broken, they're hurt, they're in pain, they're broken. And what was it the other day that I saw? Will Smith's action was interpreted by MedPage, by I believe a psychiatrist or a psychologist, who said, and y'all bear with me because I know I'm veering off towards celebrity and what they're doing, but this is a very interesting, accurate, and true evaluation, interpretation, and assessment of Will Smith, because it's such a high profile thing, is that it was a trauma response, said this physician. And I think this is really helpful for the class that is present and the world that is watching right now. And let me read some of this, just because if I have to stop and save an article and send it to my email, it's serious. It's serious. It means that it's very meaningful, and I have found that it is beneficial for society to analyze, that it is not a waste of time. Will Smith. Everyone was quick to judge Will Smith's action. And it's, again, it's not to condone anything, but again, in Buddhism, we try to cultivate deep understanding so that we have compassion and we learn from these people, and we want to say that we don't want to wind up like these people. So here we go, folks. This is what the result of unresolved trauma looks like. What we witnessed Will Smith do in assaulting Chris Rock during the Academy Awards ceremony was a trauma response. While I am in no way condoning violence, this is a very public and important opportunity for us to understand what trauma response can look like. A trauma response can take many forms and look like slapping someone for saying the wrong thing, yelling at someone for not doing something fast enough or that is up to your standards, avoiding or not responding to a boss's email about scheduling an upcoming performance review, having to do everything perfectly since otherwise you feel anxious or unsettled, not setting boundaries around your time and energy because you're worried about confrontation and upsetting another person, working endless hours without taking time for yourself or things and people you enjoy because your job is your primary source and measure of your self-worth and value. Okay. So when a person has experienced trauma, the big T, from their childhood or adulthood, the brain and body store that traumatic memory in ways such that aspect of that memory can be reactivated by present day interaction and situations. When this happens, the person experiencing this reactivation is split second processing on a subconscious or unconscious level. And the current event through the filter of that past trauma. This means the person is, for all meaningful purposes, experiences things as if right back in previous circumstances of trauma. As a result, the person is reacting, meaning taking action, emotionally, physically, or verbally from that place of trauma. These past traumas can be diverse and range from the following. And I want everyone to really pay attention here because it could apply to you and people that is around you right now in your life. Witnessing a parent being physically or verbally abused during your childhood, you yourself experiencing physical, sexual, or verbal abuse in your childhood or adulthood, experiencing emotional abuse or neglect as a child, being harshly reprimanded, including being spoken to with an angry tone and demeanor, or shamed by others for not doing a task the right way or not well enough. Being told, perhaps punished as a child by an adult caregiver that is not polite or acceptable to say no. When an adult tells you to do something, including getting hugs from relatives or being made to attend events despite your objections. And being called out by a teacher in front of a class or having the wrong answer and feeling embarrassed and shame. So I will stop it there, reading both elements, right? So I just, and again, the middle way here for us intelligent Buddhists is that if we have experienced this and know when it arises, we need to take the meditation does wonders in helping you. Number one, face it one last time, and number two, know what to do when your physiological changes in your body take place, so that you behave, act, and conduct yourself wisely, and not to make any regrettable choices. And likewise,
Venerable.
yes, ma'am.
I did want to say I think his response was a trauma response, but I also do think it was a place or it's coming from a place of ego. And the reason why I say that is because I was listening to a video by Eckhart Tolle talking about reacting from the ego or with the ego. And it's interesting because I watched that video way before Will Smith had the whole situation with Will Smith. And I guess it's hard for me to understand his response because his wife cheated on him. And then after that, they had like an open relationship. but I can understand why it was a trauma response, because I think everything they've gone through and just how hard the marriage has probably been being in the spotlight. I do, like, I can see how it is a trauma response, but I can also see how it's not. I think probably he's experienced so much backlash in Hollywood and in fame and being just criticized in his marriage, that he felt the need to, not only the need, but the want of defending his relationship. And I believe if you truly believe in your relationship, then you won't need to respond. Like, if you're confident in your relationship and you'll, go to kind of like hell and back for your relationship, I don't necessarily see a response being needed, right? But now thinking about it, like, I don't know, I see it as a trauma response, and I kind of don't. Response is not holding Will Smith accountable, because there's no excuse to, I feel like, to behave the way that he did. I think he could have behaved in a different manner. Like, he could have left, right? He could have excused himself. I think we have a choice in the way that we respond. And I don't think he responded. I think he reacted.
So it is a multifaceted issue. Any one of y'all ever read an autobiography with any presidents or anyone in general, any human's autobiography? It's really thick because it is their life. It is their life in details. And Thomas Jefferson is one of them, Abraham Lincoln, So anyway, it is a multifaceted issue. It's a very deep issue. We can literally spend our whole life studying a person. Because they know how deep the ocean is, but they don't know how deep the mind is within a person. Any persons. Okay. So again, yes. So from a Buddhist standpoint, a monk would say, well, there is probably lack of mindfulness meditation here, lack of wise reflection, and probably lack of loving kindness meditation to start mitigating that anger however that anger was, and when it started. One could say that of all the money and resources that he's got, how come this did not resolve any sooner, and that it bled into adult life and into marriage life, and now in front of the Oscars. One would also postulate to ask, what have you been doing all this time, and what philosophy or religion have you been practicing, and would God, Lord Jesus, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha would want you to respond this particular way. So again, our job as Buddhists is not to compare. Our job as Buddhists is to see this as an example and how it could relate to us, and how we should not respond this way, react this way, and that we have a lot of time to try to perfect the art of being human, to be humble, to be noble, to be wise, to be careful, to be attentive, right? To be caring, to be compassionate, and to be understanding. Every element I have just said there take you guys a lifetime to perfect. If I say all of you need to perfect patience, well, I said, how long do you think exactly does it actually really take for patience to be cultivated, mastered, externally and internally? Yeah, let that sit for a minute. So again, today, well, when all this mess was going on Discord, when I gave the talk to this monastery in California, they said, pick a topic. I said, okay, all right. And I said, well, the topic today is reeling it back in, looking at our practice, where we're at, and not to be too concerned with worldly affairs. And in 40 minutes, I actually gave a synopsis of all of the teachings of the Buddha in 40 minutes. I used all 84,000 teachings and try to compress them so they all kind of understand. Yeah, we probably forgot to practice metta. We forgot to practice the four protective meditation functions. There's so much to do in Buddhism. It's all in order. There's a methodology in practicing and studying. So again, you guys represent the school of Jidao. You guys represent Buddhism. You guys are young practitioners, young students, and you know, make the Buddha proud. Um, whether he exists or don't exist. How do you live a noble life? And your kids, son, grandson, neighbors going to be talking about it. Give them something good to talk about towards the end of your life. Leave a legacy. It's easy being a murderer. It's like, yeah, yeah, we know him. He stole half his life, and he did this, he did that. She cheated. She had all these affairs going on, and blah 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 blah. But you have to really ask yourself, do the difficult, do the difficult, the road less traveled. You know, I always get in my younger days. I sat there and studied people who have like George Steinbrenner. He There's a stadium named after him. Matter of fact, you guys just take a name from your street, local park, or hospital and study that person's name, and you will realize that that person contributed so much to society. And just they will always become a legend and a legacy. At until and just they will always become a legend and a legacy. At until this modern day, they're still like alive. Their names are there, and the things that they did that inspired humanity so much. Okay, so let me see if I'm missing anything here. Any questions, comment, concerns, remarks?
Venerable, you said that we were young students. I'm 45.
Oh, you're still young. Don't worry. Some of my some of my students are actually 80. So compare 45 to 80-year-olds that still to anger for the past 50, 60 years. So, so my age, right? Only 34. But I would describe my spiritual age as, my goodness, probably 120. So you guys just compare your ages to someone who is spiritually the height of the spiritual attainment of a 120-year-old, 150 years old, then you guys realize that you guys are babies. And it's not coming from an egoistic view or declaration, or I'm not here to flex, my spiritual attainment. But you all must realize that it takes that the amount of practice that I put in my whole life, um, 2/3 of my life was dedicated to practicing Buddhism and meditation. 20 years of practicing meditation. And the reflective aspect of my life is to sit there and rethink about what I've done. My friends come over, they hang out with me. They're like, "What are you doing? Why are you so quiet?" I'm like, "I'm just sitting here rethinking about my life." you know, that's spirituality, right? Spirituality is just knowing who you are, where you've been, where you are now, where you want to go, and who you want to go with. And I spent a lot of my time before becoming this teacher now in front of you to really trace my roots, to really make sense of my world and really make sense of other people's world. It's great. It's deep. I wonder what my autobiography is going to look like and how thick it actually is going to be. It's a lot of contemplation. It's a lot of meditation, both informal and formal. So 45 is very young, forever young, forever 21. Think of it that way. We're hard on ourselves and our age, and we can learn new tricks, and we can change no matter how old we are. That's what makes us beautiful. And no matter where you're at in life, the fact that you change, everyone will notice. People who notice your old ways and your old days, they know. And once you have this 180-degree turn, people are going to be like, "Oh my God, what is it about? You're not the same you. You're not the same you." Okay. All right. Let me pull back up my screen here.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of the article?
Yeah. All right. Let me pull back up my screen here.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of the article?
Yeah.
I want to read it too.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it right now. It's on MedPage. You put Will Smith on MedPage today, medpagetoday.com, and let me give you the by psychiatrist Melissa Hankins, MD. Melissa Hankins, Will Smith slap is a trauma response. I'm gonna post it right now. Hold on, let me go there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me post it in the links. So you go in the links portion. I'm going to. There you go. There it is. Ta-da. Oh, okay. All right. I'm Oh, okay. All right. I'm back. I think I'm back. How do you know I'm really spiritually old? Just watch how I work technology. You're gonna realize, wow, he moves like he's 90. Things become more simpler, folks. When you grow spiritually old, you realize that things become more simpler, and the most complex things in life don't become. They are what they are, and you become more simpler. You live a simple life. You eat simple. You talk simple, and then the way how you respond to events give rise to how much you have grown spiritually. Oh, all right. I can exit out of that, and back to right living. Okay. All right. Huh. Let's see this. Right. Right livelihood means that one. Right. Right livelihood means that one should abstain from making one's living through a profession that brings harm to others, such as trading in arms and lethal weapons, intoxicating drinks, poison, killing animals, cheating, and should live by a profession which is honorable, blameless, and innocent of harming to others. One can clearly see here that Buddhism is strongly opposed to any kind of war when it lies down that trade in armed and lethal weapon is an evil and unjust means of livelihood. These three factors, right speech, right action, right livelihood, of the Noble Eightfold Path constitutes ethical conduct. It should be realized that Buddhist ethical moral conduct aims at promoting a happy and harmonious life for both the individual and for society. This moral conduct is considered as the indispensable foundation for all higher spiritual attainment. No spiritual development is possible without this moral basis. Hmm. So, anyone have any questions in wrapping all of this up together as I review my mind to see if I'm missing anything? Because I don't want senior level teachers to be like, listen, you missed this part. Let me grab my cheat sheet. You guys ponder in your mind and see what else you guys got.
Karma for you to sell guns or like weapons or anything. Is it considered bad karma to sell like alcohol and like it's poison, right? Like it's kind of killing you in a way.
The substance itself, unless you're selling cyanide, which is quite instant death, or fentanyl, which is quite instant death without the EpiPen, um, Alcohol is considered a recreational drug, but it's kind of funny too. It's because you need the right amount of alcohol to actually kill a human being. And it's also dependent on choices of the person who is consuming, unless you're holding someone at gunpoint and making them drink poison and then to the point where you kill them. But from my standpoint, if you had to sell liquor or something like that, I don't think that the karmic effects are that heavy. I think we humans attach a lot of importance to that, but it takes other elements too for a life to be adversely affected. Now, if you see, following the law of your state, the fact that laws exist makes a lot of sense. If you're selling to minors, if you're selling to minors, then yeah, that would be bad news. Because hold on, let me try to hit this notifications. Mute channel. Okay, wonderful. So, you know, oh, it's still going off. I don't know what's going on. When we're contributing to the delinquency of a minor, which is a crime, they cannot make an informed choice based on their cognitive abilities, right? Research shows that anyone under 25 is an adolescent. Of course, law says 18 and up or 21 and over. But just do what the law says, and you would pretty much exempt from most karmic effects. So I mean, you guys know when you guys are engaging in something that is sketchy and illegal, a person need not to think too hard about some of these things that already had been existing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years when it comes to alcohol. Yeah. Any additional question? So we've already established right action and right livelihood. There was someone who asked about meditation. Let me see here. How do I move it? Oh, okay, I can move this. Someone just asked me a question on Discord here. Okay, yeah, okay. So I read Jules's message.
Oh, I have a question regarding the right livelihood aspect. If you're like an engineer, kind of like builds things, but it's not the implication of like being weaponized. But then again, it's eventually used as part of like aiding a weapon system. Is that like bad karma?
So we should try our best to move away from that type of engagement, because your degree, a person's degree, unless it is extremely specific, it's like PhD for this one particular microchip that can blow up the world, But if you have a PhD or a master's degree in circuitry, in AI, or something like that, something that is broad, that covers a broad spectrum for you to get a job that is more ethical than the previous, more moral than the previous, then you should aim for that. If you have knowledge that the existing profession is contributing or could contribute to pain and suffering down the road, you don't want any karmic footprints in it. You want to move away from that, because it's a headache. It's a headache now, and it's a headache later and in future lives. Who wants that, right? Why? Because of our paychecks? you know. So again, in order to cultivate a more peaceful world, each person has a chance to move away from something, have a chance to change something about them and the choices that they make, so they don't let that karmic effects be somebody else. If we're wise, intelligent, and we want to become Buddhists and operate on a Buddhist platform, which is, our little software in our minds as Buddhists, we should try to mitigate karmic footprints in our lives. All right, so if we don't have any more questions about that, I like to give my encouragement when it comes to meditation instructions. And a lot of you are, so these are some things that I don't mention often enough in the Discord, is that this is the period and stage in our practice where everyone should be practicing the 4 techniques in mindfulness of the breath, anapanasati, right? And the link I have, oh, it's actually right there on the links. It's the for overthinkers and how to tame the mind video where I teach the 4 techniques in mindfulness of the breath. So at this stage for everyone in this Discord is that you all should make this into a habit and to try to stay with it as much as possible. Anyone who has, for example, ADHD should really fully understand the effects of ADHD and the causes of ADHD, as ADHD also has an emotional components to it. People cannot sit still because they sitting with the silence, sitting still is uncomfortable, unbearable, and it's the discomfort associated with sitting still. Sitting still is associated with facing one's problems. Many research have been done about people sitting still, sitting in silence alone, and uh, they would rather pay money than sit there without uh, Wi-Fi. Anything that could distract them from the present moment, right? Because they know that in silence a lot of thoughts could creep up on you, creeping in the no creep zone. So I emphasize in this part of the class that everyone should be meditating and often, and make it into a habit. And part of this is trusting the process that things will get better when it comes to the speed and processing of your mind. The mind is a very difficult thing to tame, and we rather engage in entertainment than to sit here and try to figure this thing out. But these are the methods that the Buddha used, for people who have been suffering for so long, and millenniums and millenniums and millenniums. And it has worked, because had it not worked, we wouldn't be here. So it is my continuous encouragement that you go back to the video and you watch it again, and you choose one of the 4 techniques that you like and sit with it as much as you can, and increase in duration and frequency throughout the weeks to come ahead. If you want to get the most out of Buddhism, this is one thing that you must do, and not just merely by intellectual understanding of our talks. You would be cheating yourself if you would just, oh yeah, I get it. Great, mindfulness. Yeah, mindful now. Yeah, no. Don't work like that. Don't work that way. Had it worked that way, I would have been in robes when I was in my 20s. Okay, because I would have been just like everyone else. Like, yeah, I get it. Trust me, I wouldn't have the amount of followers that I have now if I just took the easy way out and not having to go through the process. So anyone have any questions when it comes to meditation? If not, we're going to conclude class tonight. Uh, we had 2 hours to sit together to review all of these salient materials. Um, I don't think I missed anything. It looks like this Discord is going to work out the way that it is going to work out. But in the event down the road, if Discord gets out of hand because a gazillion people jumps on here with all sorts of issues or whatever that we cannot seem to tame, then my backup plan is traditionally using the YouTube community. Um, and, you know, YouTube is pretty much like this because no one shows their face anyways. I'm the only one that shows my face. So you guys would just see my face. You don't have to show yours. You can type the questions on the chat of uh, the live stream or whatever, or you can call in via phone. So we'll make it work. I like traditional, you know, easy stuff, not bots. Having to put bots on like what is that? This is like complicated. Okay. All right. So if we don't have any more concerns, questions, I'd like to thank everyone um, enjoying me tonight and bearing through this very hectic day. We had a very hectic day with text messages back and forth, left to right, um, all sorts of drama. And we got through it. We're here. And let's set our intentions for the weekend, for the week ahead, on how we're going to tame this week effectively in a Buddhist way. All right. I look forward to graduating people, uh, students who are diligent in this practice. It's going to be a beautiful thing to see all of you all bloom like wildflowers from where you were to where you're going to be as a direct result of the effects of Buddhism, the influence of Buddhism in your life, running in your bloodstream. So everyone have a wonderful week. The lessons that you all should continue is chapters 16 and 17, right? Am I? Oh, no, is it 17 and 18?
It's 17 and 18.
Oh.
And then I think we're going to get into right effort. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Um,
I would recommend too, Venerable. You guys, if you don't have a good relationship with somebody, they're hostile or they're a troublemaker, it's probably best bet to keep, you know, your study private with Venerable. If it's someone you don't trust, you're just not getting good vibes. You know, you don't have to tell anybody anything. You know, and you don't have to accept harassment. I was in a past relationship where, you know, I was continually contacted. When, you know, this year I was contacted again, and I let him know, you know what, one more time, and I'm filing a restraining order. You know, harassment is not acceptable in the United States of America, and restraining orders do exist, and they don't look good on records. So, you know, don't put up with harassment. Hold people accountable for their actions that are not acceptable in a court of law and in society in general.
Yeah, I just hope that, you know, everyone exercises, new people, old people, exercises supreme level of intelligence. You know, relationship can be a very sticky situation, and jealousy and people who stalk you and so on and so on. So you just need to stay focused and take this path seriously. Again, if you all got anything out of this, is that you see there is a detailed method of living the good life. And people was like, well, what is the good life? You know, this is the details in living that good life. of a peaceful life, of a life that is noble and desirable, with more roses and less thorns. And anything in your life that causes you peace has got to go, no matter who they are. You got to scan for your own motivation and ask yourself, why am I motivated to do this or with this person? Has everything to do with what we have studied, right? Action and right livelihood, you know, especially right intentions. Is that what's my motivation here? If I'm in this relationship, for what reason? All right. So, given said that, everything is recorded today. So if you missed anything or new joining us, you guys can go back. And so for next week, 17 and 18 in the CBT book, third edition. Um, the Noble Eightfold Path, we will be studying right effort and right mindfulness. Right effort, right mindfulness, very important. So we're glancing through this quite fairly fast. And when we get into the intermediate level meditations, everything that you all have been doing that I am expecting in regards to meditating at least now 15-20 minutes a day, every day, before work and school, after work and school. And if you were just now beginning meditation, then to go back to the uh, video in the links titled For Overthinkers, because the techniques are in there, the how-to is in there. And then you want to be able to progress, with this program so that you know exactly what's happening, what is going on when we move into intermediate level meditation. Because there's nothing else more frustrating than you're sitting and meditating and everyone's on the same page except you. And you're like, why do I have these issues? Well, because you didn't follow all of the steps that we have given you. You did not follow the instructions. You did not put the time, effort, and energy into the practice. So therefore, when you sat there, everything comes back. Depression comes back, anxiety comes back, and we're back at square one. So, I have less than a year with you guys in the midst of writing my book. So again, I'm expecting people to really fully exercise discretion and discipline to really do the work so that you maximize your benefit and outcome in this class. Because no one can walk this path for you. You got to do it yourself. And that's what we touch up on next weekend is right effort. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, clarifications, comments, I'd like to conclude this talk tonight at 9:03. Again, have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you, Venerable.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the lesson.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all for joining on TikTok. You guys have been wonderful. Join me on Instagram or on Discord here, both. And join the program if you found that this was useful and that you believe that you could benefit from studying Buddhism and CBT. It's wonderful to have new students joining the path to peace. So I'd like to thank everyone across all social media platforms, including YouTube. Got a lot of likes on YouTube. 10 likes. 10 likes is equivalent to like 100 likes. Getting likes on YouTube is not an easy thing. So I need to, oops, wrong laptop.